The New York Rangers are making moves. Heading into the Four Nations face-off break, they make an interesting call-up, and we're going to get into some interesting lineup decisions Peter Laviolette has made over the last little while, and some players that we could see in the second half of this season. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so if you want to stay up to date with everything going on with the New York Rangers, from trades, trade rumors, lineup decisions, post-game reactions, all that fun stuff, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and thank you to the almost 6,500 of you who are subscribed to the channel. We're well on the way and on the road to 7,000 subscribers. Your support has been unbelievable, but the Rangers are making moves, and an interesting one, and an interesting story behind it. And Dylan Garand was recalled from the Hartford Wolfpack for their game last night against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he was backing up Jonathan Quick. And now, I believe this move was made to keep Igor Shesterkin back in New York so he didn't have to fly, to give him some extra rest, and, you know, right ahead of 2 weeks off, that is, but just to give him some extra rest. You know he wasn't going to play, and even if Jonathan Quick got hurt, you don't want Shesterkin going in there and risking injury, so I think they just kept him at home, and that was evident to me because as of this morning, as you can see here, yesterday recalled, and as of this morning, Dylan Garand has been assigned to the Hartford Wolfpack again. So he came up for the game, sat on the bench, and now he's back down with the Hartford Wolfpack. So an interesting call-up in that way, and I think the Rangers should utilize this more when they do travel on the second half of back-to-backs. If you know Jonathan Quick is going to play, keep Shesterkin back in New York so he doesn't have to fly, and he doesn't risk injury even if Quick gets injured in a game, and you can have Garand come in. And on a side note, before we move on to the next topic, I mean, Garand has been very good. This could be a guy in the future because we all know, you know, Jonathan Quick has been phenomenal for this Rangers team, but we know that, you know, he's getting older. So I think that, you know, Garand's going to be a very good option moving forward as well. And I would like to see him get some NHL time, but for the time being with this playoff race, that may have to wait for next year because Jonathan Quick and obviously Igor Shesterkin are going to carry the load here. And we will keep some eyes and some tabs on that. And speaking of Shesterkin and the goaltending, this kind of plays into everything that's going on with the Rangers right now. And I thought this was a very interesting stat from Johnny Lazarus. And for what it's worth, the New York Rangers were 5-7-2 from the turn of the calendar year into the All-Star break last season when Igor Shesterkin was playing his worst hockey of maybe the season, maybe of his career at that point back then. And they came out of the break, went on a 9-game winning streak, and that was right out of the All-Star break, which was right around this time of year last year, which I think is very interesting. They now have 2 weeks off to regroup and to get back after it. So I wonder if they string some wins together after that. And you can see here, they won 9 in a row. A lot of it was quick. Shesterkin was struggling. Then they got back on track. Shesterkin with a shutout in there as well. And then he didn't allow more than 1 goal after that for quite a while. So they went on a bit of a streak last year, beating some good teams in there as well. Obviously, it was an easier schedule. And the Rangers looking forward, I mean, you could say maybe they have an easier schedule at times playing some weaker teams. There's no easy schedule left for the Rangers here. They have to win a lot of games. They have to basically go 20-8 for the rest of the year. Is it I mean, it's possible. It is certainly possible. Are they going to do it? I'm not too sure. It's a tall task. They have the players in place. I think they still have to move off of Ryan Lindgren. I still think they're going to make another trade ahead of the deadline to add in subtraction of Ryan Lindgren. I think that there's probably going to be a couple moves heading into the deadline here. And you know what? We all know Chris Drury, and say what you want about Chris Drury, but there are times during the season, we've seen it this year, where the Rangers have maybe 3 or 4 days off, and he'll make a trade. He gets bored. This guy gets bored when he has time off. So I don't mean that literally, but he has 2 weeks off now. So there could be some stuff going on. Chris Kreider is going to be playing in the Four Nations face-off, so I think that's going to be interesting to keep tabs on, and if other GMs are kind of, you know, keeping tabs on him as well. So things could get interesting coming out of this break now for the Rangers, because it's got to be foot on the gas from here on out for the rest of this entire season. But, you know, there's a lot of fan reaction around what's going on right now with the Rangers and where they are in the standings. And let's be honest, this is from Mark on Twitter. And let's be honest, are we really worried about all these teams in front of us? Because I'm not. Now, listen, when you look at the Detroit Red Wings, I'm not sold on the Detroit Red Wings. I think they can make the playoffs. I'm also not sold on the Ottawa Senators because they go on very good runs like we've seen so far this season, and then they lose games to teams that are, you know, ahead of them in the standings. And I don't know if they're a real contender. Columbus, I mean, great story, great season for them. I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs either. Boston is slowly falling down. I mean, like, they're in the mix there, but compared to everything that's happened this season compared to last season, they are slowly falling down. The Rangers are only 3 points out right now into the break out of a playoff spot. They can definitely make this happen. They're 3 points out, and you have 2 games in hand on Boston. You have a game in hand on Columbus, and you're tied for games played with the 2 teams in the wild card right now. You can make this happen. You can definitely make the playoffs here, and still some games left against some teams that are, less or below you, I should say, in the standings. And a lot of what it's going to take is what JT Miller brings to this lineup. And you could see it last night. Olivier is known as one of the, strongest, maybe, the toughest fighter to a degree in the NHL right now. And Miller, hard on the back check, just closes him out, hits him, takes the puck away, and makes the play. So a lot of this, like I was saying, is going to be contagious. They played a better game yesterday. It wasn't the best effort. It really wasn't. Lucky in some areas. Will Cooley came up big, but you got to be lucky to be good and good to be lucky. So there is a bit of that to it as well. And we will see where, the play of JT Miller takes this team. I think it is contagious and it will rub off on a lot of the guys, but they got to lock in offensively. And Steven Valiquette was talking about that in the postgame on Friday as well. But the Rangers did themselves a favor last night, obviously beating the Columbus Blue Jackets, because you know what, when you look at the game on Friday, disappointing effort, like inexcusable, really. And a lot of the players, even Trocheck was saying the same thing, inexcusable. But last night, the Senators lose in regulation. The Penguins lose in regulation, who you were tied with at the time after Friday. The Bruins lose in regulation. Red Wings also lose in regulation. And the Canadiens lose in regulation. And the Rangers beat the Blue Jackets in regulation. That's a 4-point swing against 6 different teams in the wild card race. So they certainly got some help tonight, or last night, I should say. But they also did themselves a favor by winning their game. So right back in it. But again, games like the ones against the Penguins really concern me for the future of this team and exactly where they're going to go. And before we wrap up here, just to get into some lineup decisions and a guy I want to see in the second half of the season, this is a great point from Vince Mercogliano. I have no idea how VC ended up in the starting lineup last night. Not even the starting lineup. Like, he was on the first line. I don't know how that happens after you go multiple games, almost a month being scratched at this point, or not seeing much ice time this entire season, really. And he started the season hurt as well, if you can remember. And Zibanejad then dropped down to 3C, which was weird. Then he was up to, first line right wing, where he's been the last couple of games, and he looks better on that spot. Obviously, Kaliev came in and made a difference. I think we saw pieces of the best Rangers lineup last night. VC cannot be on that first line. I don't know what that is. I don't even know if he can be on your, with everyone healthy, barring any injuries. I don't even know if he's in your lineup, to be honest. And I don't think he's that good. I think he plays a role, but I don't think he's that good. I don't even know if he's in your lineup. But I'd much rather have Kaliev, especially in the playoffs, in the lineup. But that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. And one guy I think we should see, and for them to give a shot in the second half of the season, is a guy who's having a sneaky good season with the Hartford Wolfpack, and that is Brennan Othmann. He has, so far this season, 14 points in 22 games. Again, nothing crazy, right, at the AHL level. And even last season, 49 points in 67 games. I think that's pretty good. But he seems like he's trying to work on, both sides of his game. He's trying to be a responsible player on both sides of the puck. So for that, I think that maybe just give him a shot in the second half. I mean, there's guys like Kreider some nights that just look like they're not trying. And I feel like a guy like this, inserted into the lineup, will be very hungry to make a difference and try and score and make some plays. So I think he could be the plus minus last year, by the way, just to, I don't like to look at the plus minus, but wow, that was tough. Tough year for him. But anyway, moving towards this year in the second half, I think it would be fun to see a guy like this, Brett Berard, get injected back into the lineup, especially if they start to struggle at times, because the second half of this season has major implications for this team. You don't want to be a fringe playoff team and then get that draft pick. You don't want that. Let's make the playoffs and see what you can do in the playoffs, especially with a goaltender like Igor Shesterkin. But let me know in the comments what you think of Brennan Othmann potentially, seeing some time in the second half. I think he's earned it. I think that, he's trying to work on both sides of his game. And again, I think that the Rangers need to inject some of this into the lineup in the second half. Maybe even Brett Berard. He's looked good at times when he was in the lineup this year. Let me know what you think about Jimmy Vesey. Very, very odd. And let me know if you think the Rangers are going to make the playoffs. I think that they are. That is my prediction. I think that they, they got a lot of help last night, but they did themselves a favor. So we will see how that shakes out. But if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.